Welcome back to season 2 of the Truth and Freedom podcast, where awakening begins with asking the question most people are afraid to ask. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Amzallag, and this is not just another podcast. This is a journey into awareness, courage, and truth. Now, in today's segment, we will discuss the topic of freedom from fear, the biology of bravery. Now, comfort is a seductive thief. It whispers promises of safety, ease, and stability. But beneath that soft voice lies an invisible chain. Most of us believe that comfort is freedom, a warm home, a steady routine, a life without struggle. But what we fail to see is that comfort, when unexamined, is one of the most effective tools of stagnation. It lulls us into repetition, numbs our curiosity, and steals our capacity for growth. The chain of comfort are not visible. They're psychological, emotional, and habitual, and they tighten slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize your life has been carefully contained. Complacency starts innocently. It shows up as procrastination, rationalization, or avoidance, like something like, I'll start tomorrow, and I'm fine where I am. We tend to convince ourselves, and the world applauds it because society rewards stability. But stability is not the same as freedom. Stability is often the absence of challenge, the absence of discomfort, and it is discomfort that catalyzes transformation. Every time we avoid discomfort in the name of comfort, we lose a piece of our potential. Every time we choose convenience over courage, we give up freedom. Now, the chains of comfort are strongest because they are self-imposed. Unlike external control, which can be obvious, complacency feels voluntary. We believe we're making safe choices, but the truth is, we've been trained to fear uncertainty, failure, and judgment. Comfort becomes a shield, a self-created cage that keeps us from testing limits, taking risk, or pursuing the unknown. And ironically, the very thing we fear, risk, failure, discomfort, are the keys to real freedom. Without them, life becomes a carefully curated illusion, safe, predictable, and ultimately unfulfilled. One of the most dangerous aspects of comfort is that it erodes self-awareness. When we settle, we stop questioning. We stop reflecting. We stop noticing the gap between who we are and who we could become. Life becomes a series of routine repeated without consciousness. And in that repetition, the soul slowly withers. We measure security as success, convenience as happiness, and predictability as freedom, all the while forgetting that true freedom has never been safe, convenient, or predictable. Breaking free from complacency requires courage, but it begins with recognition. You have to admit, honestly, where comfort is holding you back. Which dreams have you been abandoned because they seem inconvenient? Which truths have been ignored because they demanded effort? Which relationship, routine, or belief have been maintained, not because they serve you, but because they're familiar? Awareness of these hidden chains is the first step towards liberation, because you cannot escape what you cannot see. Now, once you see the chain, the work is still demanding. You must be willing to embrace discomfort, to take action even when it's inconvenient, to confront fear even when it's painful, to make choices that disrupt routine. Growth is not gentle. It is stretching. It is the discomfort of learning, failing, and trying again. But here's the paradox. The moment you choose growth over comfort, the chain begins to weaken. And the freedom that emerges is far more satisfying than the illusion of safety you've left behind. Complacency is also deeply tied to identity. We begin to define ourselves by routines, by roles, by habits. And when challenge arises, it feels like an attack on our very self. But identity is flexible. It evolves when tested. When you allow discomfort to teach you, when you allow uncertainty to shape you, when you pursue the unfamiliar with curiosity instead of fear, your identity expands. You stop being a product of comfort. You become a creator of your own life. Now, another subtle danger of comfort is comparison. We look around and see others in the same routine, the same job, the same pattern, and we convince ourselves that we are doing fine. Social validation reinforces our complacency because it makes mediocrity feel normal. But freedom is never comparative. Freedom is measured by alignment with your own potential, not by the reflection of someone else's choices. The more you resist to temptation to compare, the more you reclaim your own path. Now, every moment spent choosing comfort over challenge comes with a cost. It's not always obvious immediately, but over time, the cost compounds. Dreams fade, talent atrophies, connection becomes shallow, and worst of all, the mind becomes habituated to constraint, believing that risk, effort, and discomfort are inherently bad. Complacency convinces you that your cage is home, and the most difficult part of liberation is realizing that freedom demands stepping out of that cage. So how do you break free? Well, I would suggest to start small. Choose one area where you've been avoiding discomfort and face it intentionally. Speak your truth when it feels easier to stay silent. Take a risk that feels scary but aligned. Challenge a routine that feels stale. Each act of courage stretches the mind, strengthens resilience, and loosens chains. Over time, those small acts accumulate into an inner liberation that is undeniable, irreversible, and profoundly satisfying. Now remember, comfort is seductive because it promises ease, but it delivers stagnation. Complacency is silent because it feels voluntary, but it quietly robs you from your freedom. Now, the hidden chains are strongest when we least expect them. In our routines, our habits, our safe choices. But freedom is always on the other side of discomfort. Growth is always on the other side of fear. And the moment you choose to step out, the chain that once felt unbreakable begin to dissolve. Now, so today, ask yourself, where have I been choosing ease over evolution? Where has fear disguised itself as comfort? And what one courageous step can I take right now to stretch beyond it? Every choice matters. Every action counts. Because liberation is not a destination. It is a daily, intentional practice. And once you choose to walk that path, you will see that comfort is not the enemy. It is the signal. The moment you notice the change is the moment you begin to break from them. Now, we all hope that you've enjoyed today's insightful episode as much as we did, and stay tuned for our next one as we explore redefining success from external validation to inner alignment. Until then, my friends, stay awake, stay grounded, and stay free.